4, 3. No countdown needed. Hello everyone and welcome. It's Thursday. Chat rate 2. I see the chat is busy and we've got 0 concurrent viewers. So welcome 0, everyone. No, I see some people in the chat. It's probably just updating. I'm pretty sure. Let's just do the usual checkups. My hardware seems to be randomly failing me. I had to struggle with the camera. I had a fight with it. I couldn't get it to start again. So I had to unplug it, uninstall the drivers, restart Windows about 3 times, and then I had to switch the USB port, remove it from Device Manager once again, and then finally it woke up again. So I'm running out of USB ports to plug it into. So hope everyone's doing good. Let's have a look. I've got the chat right there. Should have had my binoculars too, so I can actually check it out. We've got Graham first in the message there. 6 minutes to go. Yeah, and we're here now. And we've got Ugus waiting. Subaru Imphenzia. Or Subaru. Subaru is the Swedish way to say it. Subaru. Next 3D prints. What? And my name is Jeff, says, I thought it said Todd, but it says Tech Delay. Nice one. I won't have time to read everything, but I just want to make sure everyone can get online. It's 1 minute past 7. And we've got the first @Imphenzia, and that's a good way to, if you want to get my attention, ask questions to @Imphenzia in the chat there, and it lights up in orange. I can see it a little bit better. And Tyler says, anyone else wants to see him do more UE5? I'd like to see that myself. So I still haven't had a chance. Still shell-shocked a little bit from the Steam release. Day and night, it's been busy. Even though it doesn't always show maybe out into the different channels, there's so many things to do. So I'm looking forward to. I'm supposed to have 8 weeks off this summer. It's the idea. Where is my 2-in-1 PC Cafe? What you mean? 2-in-1 what? I'm too thick to understand that. We got a big hello from India. We got Off the Rails is here, and the game Adyan Studio. Welcome. All right, I think we're catching up. We're back into to real time now. I love you, Imphenzia. Thanks, tutorial. I love tutorial. And we've got oh, you need an intro as an excuse. Yeah. Hey, check this out. Since I was so bad last week. Don't get scared now. It will continue. This is just a little presence from missing something last week. So, you holding on to this? Here we go. Oop, wrong one. There we go. Whew. I should finish it now. I actually did once. I had a 10-minute modeling challenge for anyone who didn't know that. I think everyone knows that by now. But I was always made fun of. No, I wasn't. But I never stuck to my 10 minutes. It was I always got that comment as well before people realized. It was like, this says it's a 10-minute modeling challenge, but it's a 35-minute video, 40-minute video. And then one time I did an exact 10-minute video, and everyone was feeling awkward about it. And we say, Kan Iray Akai is actually nailed it. You are perfect, Imphenzia. Thanks. Finally, someone knows. No, just joking. Humble is a good thing to be. So that was a joke, I guess. All right, so let's have a look. We've got the people joining in still. 56 concurrent people just watching me going on now. I'm still gonna just... if you got any questions while we're just getting started, I'll give it about 5 minutes now to get everything set up. And then, do you realize that April Fools were at April 2nd and we have been April Fool the whole time? Ooh, that's a mind blower. I didn't know that. I know it's not true, like, still. All right, so question about your Blender low poly modeling model template. It appears that your y-axis points away from the camera, but in your export to Unity videos, you recommend having it y forwards. Discuss. I'll be happy to. It's a bit weird, actually. Let's bring up the screen here and start Blender, and I'll tell you what I think about that. To be honest, I actually Googled this, and I couldn't find a good answer to it. But when you press 1 on the keypad, you go into front orthographic view, and I'm like, okay, front orthographic view? What does that even mean? Does it mean I'm viewing towards the front, in the front direction? Because when you look at this axis, Shift Space G, it's like, okay, front view. Am I am I viewing to the front or am I viewing something from the front? So in the end, I settled on the fact that I'm actually viewing towards the front if there's a positive Y direction, if that is towards the front. So I guess if anyone knows a better answer than that, please feel free to let me know. But then for convenience, I've always modeled when I learned in Blender to do stuff. I like to see the character. So if I'm doing a character, I'd like to like model it, see the face forward. I rotate. I'm just so used to modeling characters facing in this way. But then it didn't really matter that much back in the day, because when I exported to Unity, most of the time you had to fiddle around with the export settings. But then in Unity 2020, I think it was, they introduced this new export feature where you could actually fix the rotation on import. But that only worked if the characters are facing in the positive Y direction. So that's why I recommend to do that when you do characters with an armature and export it. I actually started, I had to rewire my brain a little bit. That's not very easy. I needed to jump start it 3 times a day too. But then it's actually, once you get used to it, I could start to model facing that way. So that's the story behind that one. All right. Oh, a lot of Imphenzia here. I'm going to try to catch up here. So we've got Tyler says again here about would be interesting to see you use the UE5 Cube Grid tool to try modeling directly in Unreal Engine 5. I know that Unity also have they bought an asset actually called Pro Builder, I think it was called, where you can model inside of it. I never saw the real point, since Blender is free and such an awesome building tool. But I guess there's a convenience factor to have it in the editor as well, of course, especially if you do like a basic level design or something. But to be honest, I didn't even know that there was a cube grid tool in UE5, so that could be fun to try. All right, so we got some more at Imphenzia. Hussein here as well. And next 10 minutes will be Dragon Girl. Okay, it's tricky to fit people into 10 minutes, but I've tried it in the past. They have to be low poly, of course. We've got why my eyes, when I try to see what the names are, my dyslexia is coming in. So, Aurelian. Hello, Imphenzia. Nice to see you live. Thanks. Nice to see you too. I see your chat name anyway. And I struggle to pronounce it. And we've got Random Racer with a force in there, of course. Good day, old fella. Hey, from Oz. Sorry, I've been away without leave. And it seems you've changed your weekly format to the 10-minute challenge. Yeah, I have. And it's not that I don't want to do it anymore, but it was 100 episodes, and I thought I had to do something different. And then I switched to live streams for a bit, and I thought I'm going to reboot my channel and do some more proper videos. And that didn't happen because with the Line War release. So slowly... Ooh, that was a disaster. So I'm slowly edging my way back to actually trying to figure out... I've written some scripts for some videos and stuff, but it's just every week just goes like that. But it's good to see from Australia, you say. We might be living closer to each other for a while than you can imagine. So maybe I'll fit around your schedule. That was a cryptic message, wasn't it? And we've got another one here. A question at Imphenzia. Fast question. Which is the best platform to publish 3D models? It depends on what you want to do. I only have experience releasing stuff in two assets. Well, in one asset store and also in the Unreal Marketplace. And then I don't think people sell stuff on Sketchfab and like Turbo Squid and stuff. I have got no experience on that. And the reason why is because it's quite tricky to manage when you sell stuff in different storefronts and stuff. It's actually not as easy as you'd think. Like you upload them and then maybe you have to maintain them and update them and respond to comments and things if there's any questions or support issues. And then when you sell stuff, you get like these little accountant things coming back saying that you've sold one item in that store and then you've sold 39 items in that store. And then I have to take all of those figures and I have to like compile this little thing of papers. It takes me 8 hours once every quarter. And then I have to drive off to my accountant to do it. And even if I've sold like a sound pack for $1 somewhere, it's that has to go in the paper. So I'm actually not trying to spam my stuff into different stores. The asset store has been the best success for me by far, and mainly because I do everything that's game ready. So it's a convenient way to sell it. All right, let's have a look. We've got some more at Imphenzia here. When we use retopology, I think there are some really good videos on that topic that you should probably check out if you Google them. There's some even courses on it. I've never done it, and it's a good reason for that is because I mainly do low poly models, and they're pretty topologized from the beginning. So apologies if I can't really do a good explanation or show that off. But I think there's some good content on it. Oh, Arvid is coming in. You've been distracted for 5 minutes, and you think you missed something? I doubt it. It's my usual intros here. So we're already 10 minutes in, and I've done nothing. I'm just welcoming everyone to the stream. It's nice. All right. Oh yeah, I did play it as well. So let's see. Now Arvid hasn't done Imphenzia, but his name shows up in blue because he's a moderator. So I actually spotted your stuff anyway. All right, we got FrostDev YT YouTube, I guess. So at Imphenzia, have you ever tried using texture painting? Because I see it can give that low poly look of having more detail than just one simple color. I've done a bit of texture painting, and maybe in a few episodes, and maybe on let's see. I did one 10-minute modeling challenge of the Lynx, which I actually tried to do some texture painting on. And I did it right in Blender, and I've also tried to do it with some other tools like Substance Designer. No, Substance Painter. I always get those two wrong. So I've done a little bit of it, but I think I want to venture a little bit more into that because I was playing Sea of Thieves with my son and my daughter, for that matter. And first of all, that game looks absolutely spectacular. If you haven't seen Sea of Thieves, just check out the water. I could just stare at that water and then just look at it. Stare at it and look at it, and then I get super seasick for real because I can't really do with emotion. So but I play a little bit, and I started to look around, like as my son was hunting I don't know, like damned souls or something or lost souls. I started to look at the textures going, ooh, I like the art style a lot. So I think a low poly look but with a hand painted texture is a really cool. I'd like to explore that a little bit more. So some hand painting inside of Blender. I think I need to practice that a little bit more. So very good idea. So let's have a look. We've got it's Jonathan. Hi Imphenzia, how are you? I'm good. I'm very good. Hope you're good too. Hope everyone's good. I have a question. When I try to rig an animation, every time I switch, it scales up my whole character, and I can't fix it. So every time you switch it, switch the rig or something. Animation and rigs in my world is super tricky because unless you have applied the correct scale, like so, if I should share this, and if you have an armature and this scale value here is anything but 1, and you try to rescale it or something, that's a recipe for disaster. You should really have your scale sorted out before you start to animate. That's probably not what you're asking. So maybe you've actually got a keyframe stuck in there, something where you've actually scaled it over time. So you might want to pick whatever object it is that, like your rig, for example, maybe the root object or something, and see if you've accidentally got a keyframe down here in the animation tab that's actually affecting the scale. Because when you play it back, if it scales up as you play it back, that could happen. I've managed to do some silly keyframes through my days of going, what's going on here? And it's actually a keyframe. It could be anything. You could have keyframed lots of different things. Jen Abbott creates, I love hand-painted stuff, but I'm not good at it myself. Well, we'll make a good team then. So if you're interested in it at Imphenzia, well, why do I say at all the time? Imphenzia. Look up Stylized Station on YouTube for some tutorials example. Thank you. I'm going to copy that into my clipboard and let's bring up Notepad and paste it in. Thank you. I will. Okay, I think I'm up to speed now. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. If I did, apologies. So today I'm going to go a little bit into modeling. Woohoo! Why did I go full screen? No one knows. So what are you modeling? We're only 15 minutes in, and finally I'm going to start to model. So if you've been on this channel for a very long time, back from the day, before I even started the 10-minute modeling challenge, I did something called, it was a tutorial video on modular spaceships. And since then, I've always done a lot of the colorizing stuff with my with my palette texture. And that's basically everything I do something low poly, that's what I always go to. And then we also started to speak about hand-painted textures right now, which would be cool. So maybe I can try that next week. I do have one of those tablets with a pen thing, but I don't have. I was going to say I don't have the space for it. I've got a massive desk, but every time I plug something in, I just leave it there for like a month and I don't use it. And then I unplug it and then I go, ooh, that would be fun to plug in. So what I was going to do is revisit one of those topics just from a super fresh, let's just start Blender all over here from scratch. So this is literally, I should probably upgrade this now because it's been a while. But I was going to revisit the topic of modular spaceships and a different texturing method that I have not used probably in any of the 10-minute modeling challenges, maybe one single one. And again, if you don't know how to hand paint, this actually is a texture modeling that you could use to get started with. Because it's a bit neat, it's super fast. And if you're going to do spaceships for maybe a shoot 'em up game or top-down scroller or something, or I don't know, some just arcadey style game, this could actually work. I have no idea what it's going to turn out like now. We're going to find out. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And don't expect, by the way, when you do stuff, or especially not when I do stuff, that stuff will look good necessarily from straight away. If I count the amount of times I do something that looks terrible in the end, I'd count to a very high number. And I scrap a lot of the stuff that I do, and I just restart because I don't really mind it. But if you drop into the stream and go, what the is this? This looks hideous. Well, that's what it does sometimes, and that's okay. I should also say that if you haven't invested in this thing, this is the best thing ever. You grab a screenshot of that and buy it. I know it's the sugar-free one, it's post-combust, and I'm still searching, and I found one shop that still stocks these, and they're expiring in July. But I still got some post-combust on my hand here, so interesting. Don't know why I showed that. All right, why don't you save your default scene so it loads automatically without camera lights and stuff? I don't know, I'm too lazy. And sometimes I want, usually I start with I just load it instead. I don't know. Sometimes I use my gradient texture, sometimes I use a default scene, sometimes I use other stuff, so I don't really mind. So I have actually not done an episode on seams and UV wrapping actually that much, because I don't do that much, but I'll show. Yeah, Jonathan, he nailed it. Post-combust works all year round. It's just difficult to find. So we're not making a character, we're making a spaceship in symmetry here. So let's get started. And everything looks good in symmetry. If anyone's been watching my stuff in the past, that's the thing. So I'm not going to need. I think I'm just going to model it here. I'm going to do it in. We'll apply the mirror modifier first of all. So auto mirror. And if you don't have that one, just enable it in options or in add-ons. It's included by default and it's super handy. Saves you doing that manually all the time. And to do a spaceship, I'm just going to do what I've always done. Sometimes I just extrude, E to extrude, S to scale. I should have screencast keys on. And poor Arvid and Andreas Brillen and Obel and Jen and I don't know, Julia Alder and everyone else who's like the usual suspects in my channel here. You've seen this before, so you're excused if you're fed up with this and you want to make a cup of coffee or something or spend time with your family. I'll excuse you because this might be a little bit of a repeat, but you're welcome to stay. So Control R to do that one, and then we'll just Shift Space and G. I don't like that they've actually made it so that disappears a bit too often. Oh yeah, but what I was going to do, I'm going to do modules instead. So instead of making a full spaceship now, I'm going to do little modules like this. So let's start with that one. That's just super simple thing. And then I'm going to do Shift D. And this is the nice thing when you're working with the mirror modifier, because everything I do now is already going to be mirrored. So if I do E to extrude, so I can work in here a little bit. So E to extrude, S to scale. And there's a reason actually why I'm doing these separate now. E to extrude, S to scale. And that's because I want to be able to texture these with a different texturing method that I haven't really mentioned yet. So as you notice, I just do everything in grayscale right now. Control R, loop cut that one. So I'll just make a little module like this. Super simple, nothing fancy. Control R, loop cut that one too. And do you know what? That's going to be it. That's going to be that little module there. And then we'll do again, Shift D to duplicate that face, scale it maybe on the Z-axis, and the scale on the Y-axis, and then E to extrude. I'll do like a little wing segment here. Scale Z, E to extrude, S to scale, bring that down, and maybe move these back a little bit. or that one at least, and this edge. So it doesn't really matter what these look. Sometimes you just want to make loads of them. So maybe a wing super simple like that, but I'll still put some extra unnecessary details on there maybe. And should we do, I don't know, should we do a hole here? So I to inset, right click and bridge faces. Very useful thing if you want to poke holes in things. So little pro tip from a noob. Scale, that's going to be it for that one. So we can do, maybe I'll do E to extrude, S to scale. And then we'll do another module here. So I'm just going to do Shift D, duplicate this one, scale it. We'll do like some sort of a, I don't know. That's the beautiful thing. That's why I always love making spaceship stuff, because it doesn't have to make any sense at all, hardly. E to extrude, S to scale. This could be like some sort of a middle segment, E to extrude. And then Control R, let's loop cut. And if you do it like an even number here, okay, so Control R maybe 4 times. Am I remembering this correctly? Yeah, then I can do every other. I to inset, Alt S to scale. And if you don't want that middle thing, then when you do I to inset, remember B for boundary. That takes away that little center thing, and Alt S so you can scale that down. And then we could do maybe some weird, I don't know, E to extrude, S. And here when you do S to scale now, am I showing this? Yeah. I've done that. So when you scale now, it uses the medium point by default when you scale it. If you want to scale these individually, press period and then do individual origins there. Then when you scale it, it goes down like that. That's quite handy. E to extrude, I don't know what this would be, but sometimes repetition, you'll hear me saying that a lot too, but repetition and symmetry looks good together. So go for that. We'll just scale that on down, and then here, should we do some other module? Shift D to duplicate, scale Z, scale it down again, and E to extrude. It doesn't need to look like anything special, just some different geometry from the previous one. Even if the modules look quite similar, that's okay. But I don't know, something like that. Control, we could maybe bevel something as well. Should we try? Control B, that could work. And then maybe we'll do Shift D to duplicate that one. And E to extrude, S to scale. There we go, something. And then my ships always end up looking similar. Oh, never mind, you could do it differently. That's a good thing. So let's do like an engine part as well, and then I'm going to start showing the other parts. Okay, now you noticed when I did Shift, I wanted to separate this one, so I separated it. But it didn't separate. And that's because on the mirror modifier here, you have clipping by default enabled. So you can disable that one. Now you can move that in and it splits it. And then you can enable clipping again. But if you attach them and let go and then pull apart, then you're going to be gluing them again there. So that's why that could be happening. Scale Y, scale X, and we'll do the usual engines that I always do. E to extrude, Control R, maybe we'll do here, scale that one down. Very simple, low poly, of course. E to extrude, S to scale. And then Control R, we'll do 2 cuts, scale on the X-axis. And we'll do here, if you want to remove these interior lines, I don't really need them. Press X and do limited dissolve there. That removes those nicely. Then we can do I to inset and Alt E to extrude long face normals. That does it in both directions. So it extruded them in there, but also in there. So that's pretty handy. Control R, we'll do 8 this time. And then I'll just do this for some features as well. And I to inset, Alt S to scale, and that could be something. So there's a good start, I guess. We can change these around a little bit. So these are separate parts now, the way I see it. And now we're coming on to the actual texturing part, which is going to be super different. So let's have a look in the chat first. What we got? This ship is reminding me of something. Tiny giraffe is saying. Okay, yeah. All right, good. All right, let's have a look. Battle spaceship, yeah. Anything else here? Make turrets, guns. Okay, we can put some turrets on it too as well. So, all right, let's have a look here. Oops, that was the wrong button. There. So I'm gonna go just pick a site here, a random website. Let's grab here. I think there's one called Pixbay, I've never used it before, but I just searched for some free photos, and I believe these are stock images that are free public domain, so they can be used, I believe, privately and also for commercial projects if you want to, but double check those settings, of course, or the terms, so I'm not saying anything wrong. Here we go. And on this one, I think when I did my video last time, I searched for something like what you call those, a road bike. Motorbike. Should we search for road bike? Maybe we'll try. Okay, that was a stupid search word. Let's motorbike then. Motorcycle. Here we go. And then I'm just going to find the texture. So this is a little bit of cheating because we're not painting anything today. But I'm not getting many results, actually. Popular images. Maybe I should have found a different site. Let's try it again. Road racing. I wanted some more bikes. This is a bad site then. Motorcycle. We'll try it again. Okay, never mind. We'll just grab one anyway then. A street bike. Let's do that then. I just need something with a bit more like engine features or something. Okay, let's do a race. Did I search for a race bike? Maybe something here. How can there be a stock site with hardly any images on? This one could work actually. Let's start there. I'm surprised there was hardly any searches. So when I'm just going to grab an image like that, and then I'll do. They've changed the hotkey, haven't they, for the snipping tool? So let's go like, isn't it Windows key and Shift or something, and then just drag and mark? Nope. Alt in the Windows key. Nope. It's Alt Shift S. Yeah, Alt Shift S apparently. And then I'm just going to grab a section here and just pick any section like this, and I'll try to get it roughly square. It's a bit small there, but never mind. And then I'm going to save this one just to my desktop for now. So save and desktop and bike one. Let's do. And then I'm going to go to my rendering, nope, my shading tab. And then we're just going to grab that texture in. And I'm going to hook it up to base color there. And this makes maybe not so much sense yet. So we're going to go into UV editing. And so that's just a random picture of a bike. It could be anything. Could be like the dashboard of a car or something. And then we go to texture. And here's the nice things when you do the modules. I'll show hopefully. So we'll do just like that. We'll do A to select everything. And then UV. And we'll just, how should we do it? We'll just do smart UV projector or something. Okay. And then these are all separate now. That's fine. And then you can just start scaling them around and rotating them to see whatever looks cool. And if you're going to make a game that is just like a top-down little spaceship like that, then usually when you do, and we're going to repeat these modules as well, so it doesn't necessarily have to make that much sense. So just, I'll rotate them to a pattern that I think looks a bit cool, maybe like that. We'll go for this one. L I do to select the linked. A on this side to scale, and then you can scale it like this, rotate them. Just try to find a pattern, so something like looks cool. And you can still, if you want it to be black in some parts, like in the front or something, you could just do that there. L to select the link, A scale, and you can go bigger. Sometimes you probably want more detail. Let's try to scale this a lot bigger instead. So that looks like a hideous mess. That was no good. We'll go down smaller. Let's do it something like this. So again, this is just a quick method to do symmetrical looking spaceship models. Scale, rotate. Maybe that could be like a cockpit, nearly looked like that. This one, L. I bet half the people are going like, what are you even doing now? It looks weird. But the nice thing then is you can just switch the textures out. And obviously you wouldn't want to have the spaceship that looks like this when you look at it close. So this is only if you're making a game where the ships are going to be roughly about maybe this size or something, and they just need to have different looks. So maybe I'll split these now into separate objects as well. We can still retexture them a little bit. So I'll do P to just separate by selection here. And we can actually do all of them and then do P. And then separate loose parts here. And now these are all loose like this. And then if I want to still have the symmetry stuff going, then I can't just move the object like this now. I still need to just have this one selected in edit mode. And then when I do moving the geometry in here, it'll still be mirrored. So then you can start to play around like maybe we want, and here's where it comes in, like where the repetition comes in. And let's see, usually as well, you want to, if you have an object, I'd probably stick to the same sort of, what you call it, texture mapping for it. So it doesn't look all different every single object. Usually this, like if we had this one, for example, let's say we had this one, I'm gonna do shift, let's just move tab into edit mode. We'll go to front view, shift D to duplicate it, and then shift D to duplicate again. Maybe we'll rotate this one a little bit. Shift D. So just some sort of a weird, if you're gonna make like enemies or something for a shoot 'em up game. And now these all look weird, so let's do scale. I didn't like the layout of those pattern anymore, so scale them up maybe. That's too busy, way too busy. Scale them down, rotate. I've got something that's a bit broken in there. So let's do face. Maybe we'll just do smart UV project again. Rotate, find something. Scale. And we're going to change the image around as well, because this was just the first test image we'll do. And black wings maybe on that one. And then here we can do as well, sometimes we can do, we'll grab this one and shift D to duplicate that one, shift space G. And here, if you want to reset the pivot point here, just right click and do set origin. Okay, that was wrong. Right click and do origin to center mass or something. Scale this one up. Here we got something that's actually broken. It's overlapping. See what happened. Okay. Okay. That's the thing. Like if I do Shift D, here's a tricky one. When you right click and do set by origin, it actually messes up your mirror modifier. So that's an annoying thing. To do that one, you can. It's a bit of a painful one, but I usually do it. So I select this ring thing and I do Shift S. And then I do cursor to select it, so I get the cursor there, right click, and then set origin to 3D cursor. Then, because when you do set origin to geometry, it actually does the center of the geometry that you modeled, so it breaks up the mirror modifier there. So let's just make this one a little bit different. Maybe something like this. I'm gonna make it a little bit like pointy or something. And then we're gonna try to shift the textures around a little bit too. E to extrude, S to scale. Let's grab this one now, put it here, and then do scale it up. And then I'm going to do rotate on the x-axis, Shift D, move it back, rotate on the x-axis, scale it down maybe, Shift D, rotate it. So this is not meant to look like anything in particular. It's just like meant to give it some sort of features and stuff like that. So again, I'd like to stress it that this is not models that you want to be looking close in any way. This is literally if you're making one of those shoot 'em up games where you need loads of enemies coming in, then this could be a viable option. So for Ludum Dare games or something, if you're doing a game jam and you need different enemies, I think I did this for one of those games. And when they're moving around, then actually you can get away with that pretty good. It shines up in different directions and stuff. Let's move these wings a little bit back to there. And now I'm going to try. Oh, that looks stupid. No, it looked way too short. So I actually liked it the way it was. So scale y-axis maybe. So when we have, okay, should we do engines? I don't like. I like engines, but should we just make them black instead there? And I want them bigger. Scale, and we want more engines, don't we? So I'll put 2 there, and then Shift D to duplicate and put 2 down here too. And they need to go further back. So there we go. And now I'm going to try to just switch this out to a different texture. So we'll go back to the site here somewhere, and we'll find something else. Can we do supercar? I should have gone to a different site. Okay, maybe it's something like this. Something that has a bit of a busy thing. Maybe this one would work. Something with that red in maybe. So again, trial and error here. So which keys was it? It was Windows Shift S. And I'll just make sure I don't get any of the company logos or anything in it. And then we'll save this one. Save. Okay, so car 1. And now I'm just going to import that one instead here. So I'll go into the shading tab. I will just drag that one in instead. Car 1. I have no idea. This is probably going to look weird. So let's go with it. There. We'll go back into the UV editing. And here, then you could reposition everything. And I'm going to show you a little clip, if I find it afterwards, what it'll look like when you bring it into a game engine. Now it's a few years since I did this. But I will definitely give you show. Now I have to do these manually. Usually in a game engine as well, you've imported these as separate objects, so it's not too much of a problem. You just need to change the UVs once. But scale, rotate, go to there. You can just position them somewhere again, so you find a pattern. And if you want them busier, you scale them up, but then that looks a bit weird. So you find maybe some pattern, usually with the angles and stuff, you can find something that looks pretty cool. And then we'll go for the engines, and I did those separate too. So you can move that to where there was darker. I remembered something there. That looks pretty cool, I thought. You know, whatever pattern that is. We can still try it around a little bit to see what happens. We'll do select these 3. A to select all of those. And then try to scale it around. And try to rotate them as well. Find some pattern or something that you like. But I thought the way it looked was pretty cool, but that looks pretty neat too. Like that one. Usually when you have some, you could even do, so the red stuff there had some emission on it or something. You could try the scaling as well. Oh, should have all of them selected. So if you had different enemies, that looks pretty cool. So again, symmetry and shapes make it look a little bit cooler maybe in the end. Don't know what I like the most. Let's keep it like that for now. And then here, if you try to get something that looked a bit like a cockpit again, maybe. So rotate. Okay, wait. A to select all of them. Scale, rotate. That looks nearly like some metal sheets or something, some alien looking. Well, at least I think so. That could be. Oh, that nearly looks like a cockpit. There you go. So you could find something like that. And maybe the front will do. That looks a bit silly. Well, all of it does probably. We'll find something else that works. Scale, rotate. Another thing that you could do is in the game engine, I usually also offset the textures a little bit. So when you have a spaceship, let's just, I'll just save this in case it crashes again. It hasn't in this stream, but let's do spaceship modules. So if we go top view now, and so if I select all the objects now, tab into edit mode, select all of them. So this would be probably equivalent, but in the game engine, in Unity or Unreal Engine, you can usually, when you have a material, you can offset the texture in the X and Y directions, and you can scale it, scale the UVs, and that would be equivalent of doing it here. So if I just press G and move it, it can change the layout of the entire spaceship and make it look totally different. So you could have the same spaceship, or you could even find new cool patterns, especially in the symmetrical part. That looks pretty cool. And you can so move them in any directions and also scale them up and down. If you want less details, you scale them down so you get more solid colors like this, and you can press G to move them around. Or you can scale them to make them more busy. You scale them up a lot and then rotate. And it depends on what you want it to look. Maybe you don't want it to look like there's a wheel on there, so you probably want to avoid like those particular ones. Maybe you want a super shiny one, or maybe you don't, I don't know. So that could be a few things to do. And then you can just assemble. So if I've got all these modules now, if I could just do like shift space, or no, shift D to duplicate that one. Maybe I'll just try to randomize this a little bit. So maybe we wanted a smaller wing there, and it'll delete that one, delete the verts. Here we could maybe help select the link, Shift D to duplicate, scale it down, bring it forward to a separate, I don't know, just randomizing stuff here. I actually like just messing around with stuff. Rotate on the y-axis a little bit, I don't know, something like that. And then you can grab something else that we already got, this one, Shift D, and you could start messing around, of course, if you're modeling, and then you can just extrude again and change. But then now when I extrude, I think I'm going to be damaging a lot of the UVs here, so you'd probably want to redo the UV mapping on them. Control R, and let's move this up. I don't even know what I'm doing now, but let's do I to inset, Alt E to extrude long face normals, scale it down, and I to inset, E to extrude, S to scale. So we'll do L to select the link, rotate this, just find something else that works. And then suddenly you've got another metallic looking thing there. Scale it, and then we'll do, I don't know, you could even do Shift D, scale that one down. These could be like some cargo modulars or something. So repetition again looks pretty cool often. And then we'll grab this thing, Shift D to duplicate that one, scale it. And you could have some, maybe Shift D to duplicate that one again. You could do some weird Shift D, scale this one, rotate X, I don't know, Shift D, messing around now. So you could do like different spaceships anyway. And again, in a game from a distance, it might look pretty decent. Was there something else I wanted to mention about this? Let's try with cavity, but that doesn't necessarily, let's see, both. There we go. Got some of those shiny edges on. Don't necessarily need them there. Should we try one more texture as well? Or should we do anything else? No, I'll check the comments. Turrets, yeah, we said turrets. You won't actually even see turrets on a ship like this, actually, because it's so messy. So, let's see if I can... how do we get rid of this grid in the background? I cannot remember. Is it here? So viewport background. We don't want to do viewport black, just... And then I want to disable the grid. I remember where to do that. Here, grid and floor. So just so we get those spaceships there. So then you're off on a good way to make billions of enemies for your little shoot 'em up game. So a little tip there, and you didn't have to UV. Well, yeah, we UV unwrapped it, but we didn't even care. Normally, what you would need to do if you wanted to hand paint the textures and stuff, then let's see, let's do that for an example. So Shift D to duplicate that one, then tab into edit mode. So normally, what you'd do is either you'd just do the smart UV project like this, and then you position it, and then you paint the texture instead. So you'd go in, that's like actually how I started when I was going to do like a bunch of spaceships for a game. I hand painted the texture really carefully and stuff. And it took me forever to do it. And in the end, I actually liked the ships that I did this way better because I only needed them from about this size. Imagine you have spaceships about that size now. I have to check on the stream if that makes any sense. And usually, especially if you have many of them, I realized that I spent so long trying to texture paint them, and to be honest, it didn't make that much of a difference the way I hand painted it, because you couldn't see the details. And I found actually that just the different geometric shapes and the symmetry of things actually ended up looking cooler, I thought, than what I hand painted for 2-3 hours. So that's how things can turn out. And what was I going to say? There was something else important in that message, and I can't remember it. So hopefully you figured it out. All right, let's check out the chat. Oh, we got Peter Kipp here. First time catching you live. How's that possible? I've been live on and off for the past 2 years. Well, actually, it's more the past few months, but I'm glad you made it, Peter Kipp. Happy to see you here, and thanks for having a name that I can pronounce. Makes it easy. So, well, I hope I didn't offend anyone with the difficult name now. All right, so we've got Silas Starrier. Imphenzia, how would you get those cavities onto the model in Unity? They only show up in Blender. Yes, I assume that you would have to bake them into a texture, but I'm wondering how, if you know. Yeah, so to get... this is the big million-dollar question. And without the cavity, it looks like this. And it gets that cool shine off it, of course. So one way to do it would be to try to bake the textures. But if you check my history, there is a live stream where I talked about the cavity shader, because I replicated about maybe 75% of it, or 80% or 60%, using the shader graph in the universal render pipeline inside of Unity. And I wouldn't say necessarily that it looked as good as the cavity shader, but it got pretty close. I could get the highlight edges, and I could get the dark, which is nearly like ambient occlusion shadows. But what I could not get was, well, actually, I didn't actually spend that much time trying it, but with the cavity, you actually get the brighter sections here, like an inversed ambient occlusion in these regions. And that one I did not copy. But there's a guy on Twitter that I was chatting to that I said, do you want to be on my stream sometime? And he said, yeah, but then I haven't had time to chase that, unfortunately. So it is unfortunate, but it is possible to recreate most of it using that technique. And if you want to follow that along, you can look at that one. I think, did I include the download? I can't remember. All right, let's see. Electron TV, sir, what's your PC specs? I've got a good machine now. If it could only work, it's like sounds like a jet engine sometimes when it spins up. And it randomly decided to crash my GPU on and off, so I'm not too happy with it. And now it's dropping the camera, but it's I don't know, what is it? Device manager. Let's check. Can you get the CPU? I can't even remember. When I was younger, I was on top of everything when it came to what type of components everything was and stuff. How do I find out what CPU? I can't even remember what CPU it is. It's an... Couldn't I see it there? i12, does that exist? 12,000 something K with a 3090 graphics card. That sounds like a jet engine. All right. Just right. Okay, DX. Oh, but DX, yeah, is that just for the DirectX stuff? No, don't necessarily want to check that. Can't remember. Oh, here we go. It's a 12th gen, 12,900 at 3.2 gigahertz with 24 cores and 64 gigs of RAM. And it struggles. It sounds like it's taking off. All right, let's have a look. So we've got PC Cafe, Imphenzia. I put my PC tower in the kitchen. Yeah, it can spin like a jet all at once in there. Yeah, I was going to say my wife would get furious if it's in there. It makes a lot of noise in her room. And she's actually away on a business trip now, so I nearly get away with it. She might forget that I ever said that before she gets home and kicks my... So we'll see. She's in Poland at the moment, Krakow, on a business trip. But she went today and comes back tomorrow, so I'm in bad trouble. Right, let's have a look. So Manos Imphenzia, perhaps a bit unrelated. I like it that way. But I wonder, did you ever figure out the boat bobbing on the ocean thing from 2 live streams ago? Oh, that's actually very recent. I tried it, but I couldn't get it to work on a textured ocean. I haven't tried it since, actually, but I want to. So it was unrelated, but it was very recent in my mind. So hopefully I'll be able to revisit that. I'm just going to scroll up and see if I missed anything to me. Might help to move those, move the UV geometry closer together, the islands. Yeah, that could work too. It's the good thing with this random stuff is that you could just place it anywhere. Let's try. I've copied these, I think so. But if you move them together closer, I think the only difference it would make is that you can change the way they look. It's very customizable that way. So if you can really come up with some cool patterns probably that you like. So I think straight lines look better than round ones. Always did, but try it. And another thing you could do is you could just replace the texture then to make these things look different, which is pretty cool. I actually like the gray things, and that little red details makes a bit of a difference. Oh yeah, so when I did this back in the day, when I spent a little bit more time, I think I created about 100 modules. Let's just go full face cam for a second. And I'm going to bring up some stuff here. If I can find it. I can never find things these days. So, but I think it's on my backup NAS drive somewhere. /backup. So I'm just going to dig it out. Let's see. It's called Safe House. There's a good name for a NAS, isn't it? Because I protect the stuff there. It's shipped off to the safe house. So let's see. Safe house, safe. Computer backups. Should find it here somewhere. I'm not sharing my screen now, I know. So just gotta dig it out. Big and Cool, that was the name of my old computer. And it was a name of a bulletin board system that we had that was running on an AT86 computer. And it was only open in the evenings when my friend Jim, who's actually in the chat every now and then, when he didn't need his phone, it was open. People could dial into it. And I had Trade Wars running on that one. Excellent game. So let's see. Can I find my videos here? Imphenzia. I know you're not seeing what I'm seeing, but that's okay. I just wanted to bring up a thing here. Let's see. Space Fabricator, did I call it? No, that was my other thing. Game dev. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to pause the music here. This is actually an editor that I made for this specific purpose. And I'll show you in just a second. Just need to find the right one. Oh yeah, so here we go. Space Supremacy. I actually registered. I wonder if I still own that domain. I'm going to check. SpaceSupremacy.com I registered. Do I still own it? Space Supremacy.com. I thought it sounded like a cool name. Oh, it's... okay. I have to renew it then, apparently. Maybe I still have chance. If not, someone beats me to it. I guess that's okay. I haven't used it in so many years, so... So I'm going to share the screen there. Here, this is an editor that I made in Unity quite a long time ago. Oh, there we go. Just need to get... Hello. There we go. So you can see it's the same type of modules like this. I just accidentally maximized something by mistake. And I created this inside of Unity, and it works exactly the same. It's just the module. You see that it's super simple, the way the UV maps are just repeating. And I think this is... yeah, this is just... I can't remember if I hand-painted that particular texture, but then I ended up not using the way I hand-painted it. I just started to wrap it like this instead. And then that's how you could just drag these in, and I had auto mirror enabled inside of Unity. So when you create a spaceship like that, you drag the component in. And here's what I mentioned as well. Am I sharing this? Yeah. So you could change the tiling and the offset of the texture. And then just here I swapped as well the different textures. And I think these are just textures that I took of... and I can't remember if I took these myself, but it's again of just different car parts, the grill of a car or like the side of a motorcycle or something. And then you could just change... I've got music on there. Sorry for that. So you can just change it. There's the dashboard of my old car. And then, so that was the same spaceship all the time. And I started to put some property stuff in, but I prototyped it, never ended up releasing it. Surprise, surprise. And then let's see. Here's just another one using the exact... I think, like I said, I'd done about 100 modules, but then I grouped them into these like cargo modules, body modules, and what else did I have? Wing modules. And wings with holes in it. I think I go through some texture shifting here again as well. So keep this in mind, my friends. Symmetry and repetition you get away with a lot of stuff doing that way, especially from a distance. So I think what I was planning to do was something where you could actually have a fleet of ships yourself and then just change out the texture. And then maybe if you had your own team colors or something, you could just upload your own texture. So when you created your fleet, instead of having any skills to draw, I thought people can just like upload whatever picture they fancy, take a picture of, I don't know, their keyboard or again, something metallic like a car or, I don't know, dishwasher, washing machine, and then just upload it, and then you could customize your ships that way. And so all of them look, the good thing is that when you use the modules, then all of the ships, regardless of how you design the ships in the game, in an in-game editor like this, they would all pretty much have the same look and feel. So you'd see that this is enemy A's ship or player B or something like that. And then down here, I named that one Wasp apparently. This was like a slot for blueprints because all you needed to save was really the positions of these different things. That's a Kawasaki motorcycle side Ninja. So I think symmetry looks cool. What do you think? All right, let's see, to the chat again. What would be, so Tyler's asking, would be interesting to paste 4 images onto one of your UV image. So how do you mean for, like, transpose them or something? So they shine through or something? Maybe. And then we've got, it's Jonathan. It's Stefan here. Let's say you're rigging up a character with a skirt and you want it to have physics. Would you add bones to the skirt? That's a good question as well. And I'm going to answer that now. I'm just going to try to get rid of this thing. Is it messing up again? I can't close my player. There we go. And let's bring my Sorry, I'm just not very good at the multitasking. Well, my friend actually from one of the jobs, he proved that guys can multitask because he drove his car and he sent a text message and crashed at the same time. So that's proof that you can do many things at once. So, okay, I don't actually know the best thing about the clothing. The way I've tried different things. So what I've tried is for low poly characters, I've tried to get away with creating clothes that I don't need additional bones for, because then if it's just a short skirt, sweet, then that's possible. And then if it's something longer though, that's when it becomes problematic. But a very long robe, unless you're going to animate the character to do like high kicks or some weird stuff, then you could also get away with it. And I've done some of that in my old streams or my 10-minute modeling challenge, if you check out the wizard, for example. So sometimes you get away with it. But I understand what your question is. If you wanted to move with physics, that's a bit of a more problematic thing. So if it's in the game engine, I think you can you create bones and rig the clothing to it. So you just weight paint the clothing onto those extra bones that you have. And then you could implement in the game engine, you could attach the bone with a rigid joint or a joint of some sort, and then have physics applied to it. And there's probably third-party assets to do it, because and I think maybe Unreal Engine has got a lot more stuff like that out of the box, because usually they have a lot of clothing for their models. So I think it could be good to look what's offered in the most recent versions, I guess. So I'm pretty sure that, I mean, there's so many clothing in a lot of the Unreal Engine games that I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. But sorry, I can't answer that question any better at the moment. But most likely it's going to be bone related anyway. And then how you control the physics of those bones may vary. So, all right. One image in each corner. So the bad thing with that is if you were to, let's share my screen again. Usually you want it to wrap over, because when I've texture mapped this one, let's grab another one here. Let's grab all of these, in fact. Tab 8, select all. So usually you have where it wraps over like this. So if you had separate images with a sharp edge, it could be that it looks even more like it is just wrapping images. But if you wanted to have different colors, and you could definitely have, like, if you have a part of the ship that is for this region, if it's one image over here, and then you could have another part of the ship that is maybe down here for a region or something. So definitely you can get more variations that way. Scale. That's what it looks like if it's super busy. I don't know, which one do you like best? Which one's your favorite top view? I think mine is that one with the red stripes, or that one I like too. Which one's your favorite? Oh, share the screen. Come on. Oh, I did it again. Okay. So, hope you enjoyed watching my face as I was having fun doing Blender stuff. That's like happened about 3 billion times. Grindle is even stepping in now. Share screen. Yeah, no, I'm sharing it. No, sorry about that. So what I was going to say is that if you had, I think the question was, or the was to have 4 different images here, and you can definitely do it, and then that way you could have maybe that the wings are always part of this one, so if you wanted to change that, or you could have it so, yeah, whatever. But if you step over the boundary, it might look even too artificial. So a lot of nice stuff in this image when you look at the little preview there. I like that one though. Yeah, thanks Jen, thanks for patting my back on giving me some extra confidence. It's true, actually. It would not be so last week I missed the outro, of course, and then this time I share my face again as usual. So that was funny. At least it didn't go on for like 20 minutes. If anyone remembers when I modeled a boombox, then I modeled the entire boombox, and then people were shouting at me. I think someone even came down the stairs, if it was my wife or my kids or something. So I need help, literally. All right, it's been an hour. 100% avocado, agree. So let's see. It feels weird because usually these, my premieres were less than an hour, about 40 minutes, and then my streams tend to be 1 to 2 hours. But I think I've shown pretty much what I wanted to show here. Hope you found useful stuff out of it. I actually love this method to do it, and you can, if it doesn't look good, just try it again, just to like redo it, or go with a hand painted way, of course, if you, for all means. But I think it's a cool way to save time to make these little shoot 'em up ships. Any questions? Is Unity and Unreal Engine the same? No, it's different. So Unity is, I don't know, what level should I put it on it? They're 2 different engines. Very good engines, both of them, I'd say. Super good. Unity is more, I've recently, now that I've started to look a little bit more at Unreal Engine, I'd say that Unity is like a Swiss army knife for any type of game genre. It's super good to create mobile games, multi-platform games. If you want to have something that you can have a lot of component and build whatever you want, and it's good for 2D games, for 3D games, anything like that. So very versatile. It's C# mainly, or I think you can use JavaScript still, but I think most people use C# in there. And it's got visual scripting in it, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily that good. It's like, if you're going to learn Bolt, it's called in Unity, and that they bought an asset that was on the asset store. A very good one, of course. I mean, it is capable. But when you do visual scripting in Unity, it's nearly like you're programming, but just without the text, because all of this stuff is it's like dragging pieces of code nearly into the slot. And for Unreal Engine, I'd say that it's more performant, it looks better, and it's got a lot of more stuff out of the box, it seems. So if you want to make a first-person shooter or a platformer game or a third-person game, and it's pretty much like an existing formula, and you want to create a game of your sort in it without too much customization, not a lot of hardcore extra, like when we did this strategy game, Line War, that we've been working on, I couldn't even dream of doing that in Unreal Engine. But if I did a platform or a first-person shooter where I need to switch weapons out, have a different characters, run up and down, jump off some, I don't know, run up and down the stairs, then I think it's much more achievable to do that, and it'll probably look better, I'd say, in Unreal Engine. It's absolutely amazing what they've achieved down. So the programming part of that is C++ though, so that's a big step away in a weird direction if you want to have your PC crashing and stuff, and it's a bit difficult to grasp all the memory handling and stuff. So. Oh yeah, and we didn't mention that, but Godot is lighter and easier to learn. That's true, I guess. Definitely lighter and easier maybe to learn. I'd argue maybe that it's not easier to learn than Unity, but it's definitely lighter anyway, that's for sure. So Brim is asking, Imphenzia, have you had a chance to do anything with Unreal Engine 5 recently? What do you think about lumens and the nanite geometry? So since my streams, I did 2 streams on it, I haven't had a chance, unfortunately, to play with it any more than that. I'm meant to have 8 weeks of game development time away from Line War this summer, because we worked so hard on it for 2.5, 3 years, and we're going to continue to work on that game for years. But I'm meant to have like an 8 week block where I'm actually not working on that game. So we're planning the roadmap and everything. But I cannot stay away from not doing anything at all on the computer. That'd be like, I don't know, I need that more than breathing probably. So maybe it's an opportunity to revisit some of my YouTube videos, be able to, with a good conscience, put some time and do videos and like prototype some more stuff in Unreal Engine 5. If I were to do a platformer, I'm still debating whether I should do it in Unreal Engine as a project to learn, because I want to release a platform game. I've done so many prototypes on them. I want to actually research a little bit on what a good platformer consists of in terms of game design, because it's one thing putting the graphics together and just having it like a character jump, but to make it into a nice, like, fun game, it'd be fun to actually release something. I've learned so much now releasing Line War on Steam. I know a lot of the do's and don'ts, and that's another video I want to do. I think I touched on it on a stream that I did maybe 3 streams ago, but that content should be compacted into like a 15-minute video, and I'll rail those off because there's so many things that I've learned about releasing a Steam game, so many things that are very important to know and difficult to know before you've actually gone through the process. So, oh yeah, games are worth 300 billion this year. Be a part of it. Just keep in mind that there are a lot of people that want to be a part of it. So indie games, like sustainable indie gaming, is very difficult. But if you enjoy doing it and you don't mind necessarily making a living out of it, or a fortune for that matter, then it's still something in it. Of course, creativity reward is super rewarding. Oh yeah, okay. So Hussein is saying JavaScript's not supported in Unity anymore. Good, I think. JavaScript, I hate it. So I hate Java altogether. Hope I offend someone who likes Java now. So let's see. Imphenzia has a great tutorial for Unity beginner, just for fun. Art says yes, thank you. And it's time to revisit that one, because that was in Unity 2018 maybe. So I should do that one in. I think it's by far the most watched video. I'm gonna check actually. So I'm going full screen face again, because I might accidentally put my, I don't know, key pass up on screen or something and show everyone my passwords. That'd be weird. You could log in as me. Let's see. So I'm going to go to my own YouTube channel. Interesting. I haven't checked in a while, actually. So I'm going to check out which is the most popular Imphenzia YouTube video. I would argue, I'm guessing that it's still the Unity tutorial followed by the low poly modeling tutorial. Let's have a look. YouTube Studio. And it's playing like some Western music now. So content, I'm going to check it out. So, sorted by views. Ooh, I've passed. So learn Unity, the most basic tutorial I've ever created. And I might actually create one more basic, I guess. So that could be a lie. It's got 2.1 million views now. Woohoo! So that's by far the most popular one, actually. And after that, it's followed by learn low poly modeling in Blender 2.9. So I should release a new one. That one's been viewed 1.4 million. For my figures, that's absolutely crazy. And then my kids are watching stuff like Darman and stuff, and they've got like 1 million views in 4 hours, I think, or something. But I guess I can't expect the same from Unity. Or creative stuff, for that matter. It's time-wasting stuff that people like to watch. Well, then I should be actually in the perfect place. If you want to waste your time. All right. So, let's see. Arvid said... Oh, yeah. Thank you, Arvid. You just confirmed it. Yes, JavaScript is pure evil. And I'm not kidding. And I'm a web developer for a living. Thanks. So, Arvid, you actually rose in my personal opinion. I started to like you now. Not that I haven't before. I just like you more. Now. Thank you. All right. So, anything else here? So, Mega Pint, I'm thinking now. Mega Wigan. Imphenzia, would love to hear you talk about performance. Low poly style versus really low poly with textures. My models tend to have high poly count and probably would look much better using real textures. Okay, that's a good one. So, when I started making games a little bit for mobile, then it was important with the poly count, because these were on the earlier smartphones and earlier versions of Unity. So then I'd say that now I wouldn't, to be honest, the poly count itself, I think if you're going like from a, if you're making a casual game or something, and whether you have like characters with a very low poly character of like 300 polygons or ranging up to 900 or something, I mean, I think, to be honest, that even a character with 2,000 or 4,000 polygons is going to do just as fine. So I wouldn't necessarily think that it's more, for me, it's more of a visual art style in the fact that it's easier to produce the art and quicker to create them. And if you want to go for that art style, that's more important than the actual polygon count itself. And I saw some people really stress excessively over reducing every single polygon. And I'd say that that's more of a challenge to get the lowest poly count rather than any performance boost that you'd see these days. I just don't think that it would be worth going to that level of like optimization. Let's see if there's any. There are some exceptions. So in Line War, for example, where we can sometimes have maybe a few hundred characters that are rigged on the screen at the same time, and that's when the poly count becomes important again. If you're going to have loads of characters on screen, and I haven't gone to the point of optimizing those characters to really go like you can optimize them super much by removing. Let's see if I say this right now. You don't use a skin mesh render anymore, and you actually fake the vertex realignment by using a texture. I know that sounds super weird, but there's some really clever optimizations that you can do to use a shader instead, to just say that you're going to pan this image now, and the colors of that image are going to be repositioning of the vertices, and that hopefully makes a little bit of sense to someone. But it's like a self-playing piano where all the pegs that hit those little thing on the roll basically tells the piano what notes to play. And that texture that's panning, it just looks like a garbage texture or something, or like a spectrum or something. And when that pans across during an animation, it knows how to offset, based on the red, blue, and green colors, it knows how to offset the vertices so it looks like a walk animation. But those are crazy optimizations. But then, so I divert again from what I was talking about, of course. But performance, when you have a lot of characters on screen, then the polygon count does become important. And then one final thing on this one, and that is about the colorization. So if you're having textures, if you have high detailed textures, let's say you go over 1024 by 1024 pixels, you go 2048 or even 4096. If you have a UV that's unwrapped for a character across a 4K texture, or 4000 by 4096, and you have large areas, that's, for example, where you've painted clothing and stuff, then even if it's low poly, the graphics card needs to go and read all of those pictures and transfer those in the GPU memory, and that can, if you have a lot of characters then, and if you're using a mobile or something, then it actually starts to make a difference as well. So the textures that we do for the low poly stuff, where we just have a single color in a palette, that's why I sometimes shrink it down all the way to like 4x4 pixels, because then the graphics card needs to just go in and read, and it doesn't have to get a lot of data. It just goes, okay, I only need to read from this place the whole time. So that's probably the most optimized colorization thing that you can get using such a small texture. So that was a few things on that. Hopefully that could help. So let's see, any more at Imphenzia? So I'm missing most of the stuff in the chat that doesn't have my name in the prefix. So do one last chance here. We've got a few minutes to spare. So do at Imphenzia if you want to have any more questions. I'll be happy to answer. How long has this been live? 1 hour and 13 minutes. That was without the at Imphenzia, but I still saw it for some reason. Pronounce it in Swedish. Which one? Megapint. Mega Wigan. You're not from Wigan by any chance, are you? That's just with a 1G though. All right. See. Chris Thomas, oh, this seems to be a hot topic. Any more fun with Unreal? Not yet, but I want to. I like Unreal. I want to learn it more. How old are you, and when did you learn to start computer stuff? In 9 days, I'll be 47, so I'm 46 still. I do not understand how that happened, because I still feel like 46. No, I'm only joking. I feel like I'm in my 20s, but my hair tells a different story. My massive forehead is telling me that I'm actually getting up there. So My son was funny. We went to a theme park the other day, and he said he could see me through my signature haircut. That's good. I had an orange top on as well. Maybe that could have helped, but no, it was my haircut. All right, so how old were I when I started using computers when I was quite young? So I think we had our first... Let's see, I got through my dad's work. He brought home an 8086. That was the first PC that we had. We had an Osborne, something. Super weird carry thing with a green screen, about that big. But I couldn't do anything on that one. But on the 8086 is the first one I started to use. And we had a 286, a 386. That's when I started to build my own PCs from 386, 33 megahertz or something. And then 486 Pentiums and stuff like that. So then I had a Spectra Video as well, MSX. That was probably the first one I started to do some basic programming on. Avocado Fire, you're really close to my age. Nice. We're in the same boat, in the same team. Well, 40 is the new 30 or whatever. So let's see, we got Eric Pug here. I like that Unreal Engine has a tool to do LOD, speaking of performance. Yeah, that was actually a question that I missed to answer before about the Unreal, and that was about Lumen and Nanite. And I haven't actually needed to play around with Nanite so much myself, but what I've seen so far, and when people have done the performance testing of Nanite, I'm beyond impressed. I mean, I do not understand how it can be optimized to that level. That is very, very, very impressive. Because even in, when I did the big city in Unity, in Blender, I struggled to even get hundreds of buildings in that were fairly low poly. And this is in a program that's meant for you to, like, it doesn't need to run on high frame rates and stuff. And with Nanite, when you bring in like loads of those super detailed meshes and how we can do that on the fly and with lighting and stuff, absolutely incredible. And I don't actually know how the LODing would work. Let's say the way we create, and I say we because we're in the same crowd, of course. But when you do the low poly stuff without the texturing, I don't know how it would actually cope with if you had a very highly detailed like mesh in the way that we create them with this palette texture. I don't know. Maybe that's a test for Nanite actually. Don't know if it's let's see. Why is Jero King? This was I'm just reading because it's got capitals, but that's not a message for everyone to do capitals. But why is the game mode gone in Blender? Oh, spent thousands of hours of time in it. Then they were stopping it back in time. I'll tell you why. Because it shouldn't have been there in the first place, Jero King. And you shouldn't have spent 1,000 hours on learning it. Because it was a 3D designing program. They should not have a game engine in it. I feel sad now. But with that said, it's not too late. You can start to learn Unity instead. If you've learned it once, you can learn it again. I hope you don't take offense for that, Jared. But I think you wasted 1,000 hours there. But it's not... I go on again. You haven't wasted it because you just reassign those skills now and bring them into Unity or into Unreal Engine. So you can do it. You can do it. It's not wasted. Yeah, let's see. Did I spend a lot of time learning something that turned out to not be a thing? 3D. I used to... Blitz Max I actually created a game in. That was fun. We've got something else here. So, okay. Jeffrey Bell. Imphenzia. Can you talk about how you host a Line War server? Is it a single server app running or on just one Linux server for all matches? Or do you spin up a new server instance for each match? Jeffrey, you've come to the right place. I can tell you about that. So I'm going to try not to drag it out, of course, but it's a very interesting topic, I think. And I've spent quite a lot of time researching it and testing it and stuff. So I'm going to try to compact it now into a small version now. So for Line War, we compile a headless Linux server of the game. So it basically takes the entire game and compiles it into an executable that can run just as an executable without any graphics or anything like that. That's why I can't use any GPU, unfortunately, acceleration for map generations and stuff, because it doesn't have a GPU or anything. Everything needs to run on CPU. So we compile it as a headless server, and then we compile it for Linux, and that produces just a set of files. And then the way we run it, we automatically deploy this to a blob in Azure. So it's a zip file that's there. And as soon as we upload that zip file to the blob, then game service will look after each match. It'll say, is there a new version for me to download? And if there is, there's a shell script or a bash script on the Linux server that goes for that instance and checks, okay, I've got a new server executable that I'm supposed to upgrade to. And it does some really automated but stable bash scripting to get, it'll do a wget, a download of that new zip file, it'll uncompress it and install itself, and then it'll restart with that one. And we don't just restart them as executables, we launch them as Linux services in Ubuntu. So it's actually running as a service, and each VM, we found at the moment, we put 6 instances of services on one VM machine, and the one VM machine has got 8 gigs of memory, and it's got four vCPUs, I think, or is it 2? No, 4. And we run those on Vultr. And so when a server goes up, it starts up 6 server instances of Line War, and then people can play, and they'll matchmake against one of those instances, so every VM can host 6 matches that are going on simultaneously. And then we also have an API now that monitors how many people are playing. So we've got a matchmaking master table. And when the player count goes up above 80% allocation, it'll automatically send API calls to Vultr and start up new machines. And they'll go and download the executable, start up and wait for connections. People play, and then it becomes different time hours. Maybe the player count reduces, and then every 5 minutes we run to detect, okay, the player count has dropped, so it'll send a remote call to kill all those and just deallocate them and take them off the cloud service. So we go anywhere from having just a couple of VMs during the extreme low peak hours, and then the most thing we ever had was 300 concurrent players, I think, and that was, I'm guessing, about 40 servers or something like that, VMs. So hopefully that could be a topic for a video sometimes. I'm quite happy and proud that we reached that. It seems to be very stable, and happy with that. Oh, we got basic being typed here now. That was actually my first code. 10, print hello. 20, go to 10. All right, let's see. We got something else here. Jen, yeah, I'm a few years older than Imphenzia, so I learned basic from my early 20s in the Stone Age. Hey, it's not that old. It's not that bad. When you think about it, like kids these days, like my eldest son is 12, and I'm 46. In about 3,000 years from now, we're like proportionally, we're pretty much the same age right now. Then I guess that's one way to think about it. Right, hopefully, Jeffrey, you got an answer to the hosting there. I could talk about that for 2 hours alone if I wanted to, because I actually think it's quite funny. It's not like game devy, but it's... and I don't even know Linux that well, to be honest. It's just my usual approach of like Googling, trying stuff out, making sure, ooh, that worked. So let's go for it. Okay. Do you know what? I see no more in the chat here. My name is fading away into history. I don't see any at Imphenzia, so I think this could be a good opportunity to call it a night. I should go up and feed my kids, probably. Oh, you would love to hear more details. Cool, Jeffrey. I should do a video on that. Open up some attack vectors. So I probably shouldn't show too much. Just joking. I'm hosting an 8-hour Blender workshop in approximately 1 month. What do you think is the most important thing to teach people who try to land a job in some IT? MH6. Okay, so let's do some more questions then. First of all, cool that you're doing an 8-hour Blender workshop in 1 month. That's cool. I'm always for like people helping out and teaching stuff and sharing knowledge and stuff. So I'm just going to try to see. So what do you think is the most important thing to teach people who try to land a job in some IT? Well, land a job in IT is, in my mind, is very different, because that's literally what I did for most part of my career. I started doing IT stuff because I knew how to do it. And then I got into IT security because just one thing led to another, and it was just a way to make money. But then... I think like in Blender and stuff, it's very different. It happens to be on IT, but you don't necessarily need that many IT skills to be good at Blender or anything. So I think I'm trying to think of a proper way to answer that question. What do you think is the most important thing to teach people who try to land a job in some IT? Teach people. I'm going to think about that one. Because I just don't want to just cough up an answer for the sake of answering. I actually want to... Could you specify, do you mean like to get work within... Because I think I'd answer it very differently. Do you think about literally like learning Blender to work as an artist to produce art for games? Or is it literally like how you... I guess I could answer both because I have two different things. So if it is for learning Blender, and then I would say like stick at it, model as much as possible, and then try to land little gigs where you can help maybe someone who's creating a game. In the beginning, you probably have to do it for free or something just to get some experience on it. And then you can start having something like to show that I've done this for that game. And when I started out with music, I usually gave them the music for free and said in return for promotion. So that's the way I did it. It doesn't like land you a professional job that way, but you can build up a bit of a portfolio and stuff that you've done. And gradually you can get to a point where you can start charging money in that case for it. So I'd say do a lot of modeling and learn a lot of stuff, and try to get in contact with people that you can actually supply things to that get used, so you can reference that. So that was if you're starting to do Blender stuff and artistry stuff, then that would be. But for IT, I'd say it's different, because then I'd say find a way to present stuff that because when I worked in IT, the biggest thing that everyone was getting mixed up was with they just kept getting confused about what was actually going on, and everyone was too afraid to ask what the problem was, or they didn't even realize necessarily that they didn't understand each other. So one thing that I found really successful when I worked with IT security is I just take something and then I try to visualize it, and I try to visualize it as simple as possible so there cannot be any misunderstanding. And usually when I create presentations for IT stuff, I don't have like 3 billion slides. I usually have 1 or 2 slides, but I build them up. So I start with an empty slide, and then I just put one box on it and say, this is what that is. And then I press a key and another box comes up, and I explain what that is. And then I build up an image and try to explain the IT stuff to the people, so they actually do hopefully understand in the end what we're talking about, and it's worth that time. So it's not necessarily techie as such, but on my level more now. I used to do a lot of hand-on IT stuff like bits and bytes and learn, and then that's a different thing. If you're on that level, just tinkering and playing around with a lot of stuff, that's my approach to learn things. But then gradually in IT, I've moved away from that stuff, so I'm more like just presenting and talking to people and making sure that people communicate correctly and create different architectural views and stuff. So that's a bit boring, but I don't know. That was a weird answer, probably. Too much information. Maybe someone got something out of it. All right, so Brim, Imphenzia, would like to see something about the hosting tech side. Okay, so that's cool. I should do a video about that then. To touch a little bit more on that subject, I did consider a lot whether we should have one massive VM instance and have loads of game instances running on that VM, or if we should have multiple smaller VMs and then run fewer instances on each. And I've landed through a lot of estimations and calculations and pros and cons. We've landed in the fact that we don't run the smallest instances where just 1 vCPU and 1 gig of memory, because I think the price performance balance for us is finding those four vCPUs and having 8 gigs of RAM on Vultr, vultr.com. We decided to go for it because on Azure it's about 4 times more expensive. That's where we host some of the stuff, but not the VMs. So we found that balance, that sort of not the smallest machine, but a bit bigger, that could host 6 instances, because it also reduces, it makes it easier to spin up and down machines, because the availability of those big beefy machines are not as common. So that could be an issue if we were to run it on a big one. And plus, if something went wrong on the big one, then maybe it could affect all the VMs. So we found just dynamically, and there's no cost in creating or destroying those VM instances. So it works. I mean, sometimes we create a VM instance and it lives for like 5 minutes and then it destroys itself. So it's really, really flexible. And when we spoke to Vultr, we had a face-to-face meeting with them. And I should put in the chat, actually, I'm not promoting them, I guess, but I just wanted to say, if people are wondering, it's spelled like that. Then we had a meeting with them and said, what happens if we need to spin up 5,000 VMs like within the hour? Let's say we have a free weekend or something. And they said, not a problem. And we run all the servers in a data center that's in the Netherlands. And it's actually working really well. I've had people comment that are playing from Australia and New Zealand. and also from Asia and America and Europe, and everyone can play against each other on that one. So that's one of the benefits with Line War. The latency is not a problem because you draw commands and the units will play. So it's super good that way. Works super. I say super a lot. So probably the most common word I'm using. Let's see. Okay, so Tourist Imphenzia. What's a good way to look for small free gigs to develop a Blender portfolio? Maybe I'd say go to the Imphenzia Discord channel, because people are chatting there to form both on sharing their work and getting some inspiration and critique and feedback. So that's one way to do it. And then I think in there's a mix of game developers and modelers. And I think people have teamed up a little bit to do some projects there before. So if you really want a small gig like that, you could do it. Also, if you want to just get connected with people, maybe for game jams, you could find a team as well for Ludum Dare or something. So that's a free gig as well that you could do. Like say, oh, hey, look, I can produce some models. If someone wants to team up, can do the programming, and you can organize yourself. Maybe I'd say Imphenzia Discord, just go for it and chat there. Personally, I'm not that good of a team. I say this, I like to teach and help people, but I'm not usually that good at working with people for some reason. And the one exception that I've had so far is working on Line War with Christian. For some reason, it's worked super good. But I don't know, I think it's the way I work. I have like these different waves of creativity. So like for a month, I'll be really much into 3D modeling or something. And then for a month, I'm really much into audio, or I like to develop, or I want to create some YouTube videos or tutorials and stuff. So my schedule isn't necessarily that good. But then professionally, when you work on Line War, and since we have like an 8-hour work day generally, well, tend to put more in anyway. But, and it's been really flexible the way I can work with that, so I think that's why it worked. But usually I find it a bit frustrating and disheartening sometimes in the long way in the past. I mean, I'm talking 20 years ago or something. You team up with something to create a little game, and then you're really passionate about it, and then someone sort of loses interest in it, or even if I did it or someone else, and then it becomes a problem then, because either you had to carry that weight yourself or find someone new, and I didn't really necessarily like to find someone new. And I think that's why I've learned to do so many things on my own. So I do programming, sound effects, music, modeling, animation. I just enjoy it so much, and I can do it in my own time, and I like to put everything together into one thing. But your question was how to find it, so Imphenzia Discord, I'd say. Go for it. So Darian is asking, Imphenzia, have you ever tried to 3D print one of your models? I haven't myself, but I actually had the 3D printing professor. He used to watch this channel back in the day. He actually sent me one. It's a chessboard, and it's back there in my cabinet still. But my kids have just played with it, so the pieces have fell over. So I knew he went through a lot of work to print it, and it's not. I think that's what's discouraged me a little bit. It feels like it's too complicated still to print, both to prep the models and then to wait for the print. And then another thing I found is that everything that you print becomes super light. So like with the chess pieces, they're really nice, and I like the way they were done, but they felt nearly like air when you tried to play with them. So you'd probably need to like inject them with lead or something. Eat lead, sucker. It's from Bad Taste. Anyone watch that one? I muted myself though. So. All right, let's go for it. I am Imphenzia. I got a song that's titled like that. You should check it out on Spotify. Thank you for your tutorials and all your teachings. What do you think on using Blender in VR? Using Blender to train in VR? Yeah, VR is not my field, unfortunately, because I get so motion sick. Even though I think it's a super cool thing. I tried to do some VR, both in terms of using it and thinking that the motion sickness would go away. It didn't. And then tried to do a little bit of development, but I just could not test it. So I'm probably not so good at answering on that. But I don't know, most of the stuff that I've done, usually you don't do the VR part in Blender, I'd say. Nearly every project that I've been involved in that has been touching on VR, and that's been a few actually, but from an artistic side, then usually, I think all of those have been in Unity. That seems to be the go-to one. Tyler, Imphenzia, I'm like you and I do everything, but not good with music and audio. Do you have any videos on how you do your sound effects, etc. audio? I've got some very old stuff on it, but that's another thing I really want to visit again. I need to shape up my channel because I've got so many things I want to share on that, and so many things I learned along the way. So a few tips on it, just if I could say this time, is don't necessarily need to go head deep in and get a lot of expensive audio equipment like I did in the end, because when I started to do sound effects, I went to start to do the most difficult thing you can do, and that's record weapons and gunshots and stuff. And I bought a handheld recorder. I went to a shooting range and I thought, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to record these sound effects now. It's going to sound like Heat, the movie, if you've ever watched that one. It's going to be amazing. So my friend was like at the shooting range shooting, it was like a handgun. I had my handheld recorder and I recorded everything, and I was so excited to get home. It's kind of like, ooh, I've got loads of cool sound effects now. And I played it back and I couldn't believe my ears. It sounded like popcorn. It was like little pops like this. So I started to Google how do you record sound effects, and it blew my mind on how when you record. I've actually got some recorded footage on that when I've actually done it since then. But I ended up buying like audio recorders and like 4-8 channels, and then loads of different type of microphones. I spent a fortune getting all these things, and then you actually rig microphones, anything from very up close to the weapon. And then that runs into one of the channels, and then you have one like 5 meters away, 10 meters away. You have another microphone like 25 meters away, another microphone manufacturer from that angle going at 30 meters. And then you have one 50 meters away, 100 meters away, and one 200 meters away in the forest somewhere. And then you take in all of those audio recordings and you merge them into one sound effects. And that's how you actually get those it sounds realistic the way you do it that way, and I don't understand really why you can't just record it and get that same feeling, but it's something to do with how the dynamics works and how the microphones pick everything up. So unfortunately I took it from the most difficult thing. I learned a lot in the process, but what I'm trying to say is you can get a long way. You can get 89% of the way exactly with a handheld recorder if you want to record some of your own source material. And the key is that when you record this, my first was a Zoom H4n, I think. You can get a smaller one. I've got a really good Sony one. Try to get one which just doesn't produce a lot of noise. I think my Sony M50, is it called? Or M10, can't remember. But a handheld recorder, and then get up close to something, record it, and then you use the sound. I personally purchased Sound Forge, it was called, because I didn't really like Audacity, which was Audacity. I don't know. There are some free ones, but I didn't quite like them, so I ended up investing in something. And then you take that audio, and then you just pitch it down, you loop it, you twist it, you bend it, and then you can create a lot of different things. Because what I've learned about sound effects is that you don't necessarily need to record what it is that you're making it sound like. If you name your sound effect to something, people will believe that's what it is. So for example, and I'll give you a secret now, a tank, for example, if it's called tank tracks or something on the zip file, or not on the zip file, on the WAV file, it doesn't necessarily have to be a tank that's running on a street to record it. I actually got some sound effects from one of those digging machines with the belts that made a lot of squeaking sounds as it went across the tarmac. So I recorded that instead, and I just named the sound file tank, but I pitch shifted a little bit and stuff like that. Worked really good, and I have a lot of sound effects that are created just from something, a door slamming, and then you modify that a little bit, and that could become a good gunshot. You have a stapler. Have I got a stapler here? And you use that one a few times, and you modify it, you pitch shift it, you overlap it, you blend it with some other sound effects, and that becomes like a reload gun of a shotgun. So a lot of this stuff is not what you think it is. And you should check out Google Foley on YouTube. Google on YouTube. Search on YouTube for some Foley work, and you'll see when they do a lot of... If you want to actually destroy, a little heads up here, if you Google Foley, you might destroy your film experience, because when you look how the sound effects were recorded for certain films, then you go, okay, that just destroyed my experience quite a bit. Because it's not exactly what you seem, and there's usually someone in a sound room in just their underwear or something, because you don't want to make rustling noises with your clothes, and then you're like doing some stepping sounds, and then when a sword comes up, it's like a spatula or something, or when you do like the horse riding is literally coconut shells and stuff like that. But anyway, what I was trying to say is get a handheld recorder, record loads of different source material, load it into a sound effects editor, and then mess around with it, and you can create loads of crazy sounding stuff with it for game audio. Pitch shift it a lot and stuff. What's it? This. So that was a long answer for that. Oh, we got, I think I've just got a new favorite subscriber. I hope you're subscribing now. That would make me even happier. Doom Sage. Damn, my dude. You look closer to 30 than 50. You must be down having low poly geometry. Thanks. I'm going to take that as a compliment. 30, I remember that day. Only 3 years to go now till 50. I might just take a dive. For the worse. I'm actually using... it was a bit messy behind me today, so I used a different aperture on my camera. It's 1.8, so I have to be... Maybe that's better focus or something. I wanted the bokeh blur thing. I don't know. All right, let's have a look. So Tyler, thanks for the audio tips. A vid making audio effects would be great. Yeah, check out my channel history though, because before my 10-minute modeling stuff, I had some stuff where I recorded a Steam sound train and stuff, and some audio pitching. So could be good. Oh, Scorpion Gaming. Hello, I'm a new subscriber, I think. Thanks. Welcome. Anyone who's not subscribed, please help me out. I need to get some more subscribers. When I hit 300,000, it could be possible that I do another 24-hour live stream. If you didn't capture any of those before, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I did a 24-hour live stream where I modeled characters. And then when I hit 200,000 subscribers, I did another 24-hour live stream. And I was going to say without breaks, but I did have like 5-minute breaks, but I was still streaming. I just needed to get some like drinks and stuff like that. So everyone who feels like subscribing, most welcome to do so, of course. Okay, so we got off the rails. Imphenzia, I'd like to see what you can do with meta sounds in Unreal Engine 5. Procedural sounds music, whatever you get around. That sounds cool, yeah. I'm into procedural stuff. I love it. I think it's really cool. Both when it comes to audio stuff, and a lot of the stuff that I've created is actually in a way procedural, because I generated some... I'm blending my knowledge and love for scripting with sound effects. So when I created my sound effects for blasters, for example, if you haven't seen that one, I've created a sound effects pack for blasters. And I created a lot of source sounds by pitch shifting and stuff. And then I had a library of maybe, I don't know, 100 source materials. And then I scripted it in SoundForge. So it took a lot of those and applied different fall-off curves and blending. So that's a way to do procedural, but it's more of a, it still renders it, so it doesn't do it on the fly. But I created a lot, and then I just listened through everything, and then I had another script that analyzed the audio waveform, so I could see this one is loud. I didn't have to listen to it and go that this is a loud one. I could just measure the average sound volume of the audio clip, and then it labeled my file names, everything, so I knew that this was a high frequency sound, this is a loud sound, this is a low blaster, this is a muffled blaster and stuff. So, and then this is a long one, a medium, or a short. So... But it'd be cool to try around the meta sound stuff in Unreal Engine for sure. I like that sort of stuff. So Jobs, we say Imphenzia, how do I make a cylinder? I can't really interpret there. How can I make a cylinder? It's C-I-L-D-R. I might be missing. I don't know how to try. Oh, I'm guessing you're asking how can I make a cylinder hollow? Okay, so, well, you can do it like this. Let's go share. This time I shared the screen here instead. So if you want to do a cylinder hollow, I guess I'd do it like this. Shift-C, Shift-A. Let's add... You could do it with a circle, I guess, but I'll do it with a cylinder. Tab-A to move it here. So the easiest way to do it, I'd say, is just like... Go into edit mode with Tab-3 to face select. Am I showing this? Yeah. Zoom in here, pick the top face, shift select the bottom face, and then do I to inset, and then right click on it and do bridge faces, and then you've got a cylinder that's hollow like that, if that's what you meant. There's another way to do it as well, and I do Alt-Z here. I guess you could just pick these two and delete them, delete the faces, but now it's infinitely thin, and again, if we have here, very important, if you're on backface culling, like that's actually not a face there. So another way, either you can apply here, you could do add modifier and do solidify. That's a lot of solidifies it, and you can change the thickness of how much you want it to be solidified. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is a last one. If you deleted the top and bottom faces, sometimes I just do A to select all of them, Alt-E, extrude long face normals, and then you can make it thick like that. So that's a few tricks. So let's see. I'm missing most of the stuff that doesn't have at Imphenzia, but Gisela 24-hour live would be awesome. Yeah. I might even be in this country by then. We'll see. I'm actually applying for a visa to go abroad for a while. That'd be cool. I might be sweating though. I'm used to the Swedish climate. So we got Radio Rado something. Hi, I love your videos. I'm also making low poly, but with pixelated texture for my final year project. Cool. Sounds awesome. Pixel stuff and low poly stuff is cool. Let's see. That's it. I think we're up to speed. Do you know what? I'm going to round this thing off there. Got a lot of cool ideas from you. So from the way I see it, you want to learn more about the hosting stuff of LionWare servers and the Linux world and how we deploy servers. You want to learn audio stuff. Okay, I'm going to write this down instead. So here we go. We've got, not necessarily in this order, but LionWare, Linux server hosting and deployment. That's one thing. I'm going to write these down now. I'm going to have audio and creating sound effects, record plus sound design. And then we had those two. We had texture painting in and UV unwrap in Blender. More UE5 stuff. And then an idea there was to do nanite with extreme low poly, but many of them. And I think that was it. Was there anything else that I missed there? Unity programming. That's another idea. Okay. What else? Unity programming. But what type of Unity programming? I found that Unity programming is the most tricky one to do on live stream because I only seem to be able to allocate my brain to one thing at a time. And that's stretching it these days. So trying to code and communicate at the same time is I found that to be quite difficult. So maybe I could do a video on it instead or something. Because you'd be laughing if you see the way I program. And sometimes I can be really efficient at it, but I literally Google half the stuff all the time and then just go, oh, this could be it. And I'll try it and I'll do IntelliSense. I'll look it up in the API and go, oh, this could work, this could work. So most of the time it's like failing, succeeding, failing. And I just try my way. So maybe if I do a live stream in the future, I'll do it without communicating too much to the audience or answering questions because I get a bit sidetracked then. But would be nice to see the car racing game low poly finished. Okay, I'll put that here as well. Low poly racing episode is the 6th that I've been it's been 2 years now. 6. That would be fun actually. Low poly racing. People have actually stopped asking finally now. But yeah, I don't mind you asking because I like to do it myself. I actually watched the speedrun the other day of let's bring that up actually. Here's another tip. So bonus tip. If let's see, I'm just gonna bring let's go here. Again, don't want to bring my key pass on screen necessarily. But check this out. I'm gonna change from my face in just a second. YouTube. Here's a tip. If you're making a game, I created a game called Blot once. And actually, before that, I'm going to do this low poly racing speedrun. Is that what we called it? No. There was a big internet thing of creating low poly racing games when I released that series. So it was a lot of fun to see actually. Low poly racing record. I'm trying to remember what I could search to see it. Here we go. So I'm going to share. So for anyone who didn't spot low poly racing, go back in my channel history and watch this thing. Low poly racing, episode 1. Episode 5 was the last one I made. But I created this little mini game where I modeled a lot of the stuff. I went into way too much detail probably, but and then I had a competition where people could actually race. And here was one of the records, I think. So this is the little low poly racing game that I made. And I had a competition to say who can do the fastest lap. And then I created this little timer thing. And I think someone did. This is a pretty good ride, I think. I'm showing the screen, yeah. So it turned into a playable game, I guess. I usually love I got this idea from back in the... Oh, they didn't even jump it on that last lap. But I think someone actually found some shortcuts to do it even faster. And oh, this one. Should show this one as well. This is fun. So this is in Unity as well. And this was before low poly racing when I did another attempt at low poly racing stuff. Still want to make a game like that one day. Maybe we can employ some more people to work on line war with this. But this type of collision stuff I actually did. There's a lot of joints and physics stuff. The guy's actually sitting in there driving, and that guy waving the flag there, he's a trooper. And I had some stuff where you actually break the cars apart like this. And those are just primitive colliders, and all of the stuff was modeled separately inside of Blender. So you could just, when it detected that the physics force was larger than a specific amount, let's see, the fixed joint just detached itself, so it could break it looks a bit cartoony. Oh yeah, here you can actually see how it was done. And you could actually get in the car, close it. This is the way I wanted to make a low poly racing game at some point. He's still waving the flag there. Such a hero. Oh yeah, and one thing I just wanted to do a tip on, and that was if you do blot speed run. I created this game and I challenged people to do it. And if you're making a game, I would say have a speedrun competition if it's a game that would work at that. Because I found, let's see. Now I don't hardly find any of them. Speedrun, why don't I see? Imphenzia. Here we go. So my first attempt at the speedrun, I think, was 3 minutes it took me to complete this level. Oh, ads. I should pay for premium, shouldn't I? Let's see. Can't even skip it. I should click it because it's on my own video. Here, so I created this platform game. This is one of my 48-hour entries that I made for Ludum Dare. I can't remember which Ludum Dare it was. So you're meant to like run, chop down wood because you needed to collect wood. I can't remember. Sacrifice, I think, was the topic of this one. And then you had to have 3 woods, and then you could you sacrificed it by the rune stone, and then you had to go here, and then you needed to gather wood. And here's a bad game design because I should have actually said how much wood you need for the end of the level, or how much hay you needed. But you had to harvest this stuff, but because this is no good game design, you should not tell them at the end what you needed. They should know that on the way. Stuff that I've learned along the way. But then, so this was the way the game was, and this was my own speedrun attempt. And maybe I should actually... Oh no, I think this sound... What's this? I can't remember. I think it's got sounds on it as well. But so I did my own speedrun attempt, and I think at the end here... Let's see, we landed at... If the fast forwarding works. I was at 3 minutes 24 seconds or something like that here. And I think this was the final one. Yeah, so congratulations. This was my record here. Have a great life. That was very kind of me to... So that's a big thing to say. Hope all of you guys are doing that too. So total time 3:28, and that was another bad design thing. Not being actually... But check this out. Then I hosted a speedrun competition where I gifted away like a $40 or $50 Steam gift card to the winner. Because I wanted people to play it. This was one way to like promote my brand of Imphenzia a little bit. This was before my YouTube channel became a little bit bigger. So I thought it could be worth spending that amount of money in dollars in terms of, you know, getting people to play the game and share it. So that's a tip if you want someone to play and share your game. Create a competition with a little prize in it. And then here, someone attempt 350. Okay, here, someone, Marsig here, attempt 650, 52 seconds. Check this out. And this is how, like, after all the testing, he figured out that you can do double jumps, which I didn't know. And then here, you can run straight there and bypass all of these things, and then you can kill yourself. Because I had a hotkey where you could that I had for debugging, where you could actually kill yourself so I didn't have to do it. And I left that in by mistake. So he found a hotkey. And then when he got there, instead of looking at the animation of reaching there, then he could press the key at the right moment and it killed the character. And then he could just bypass a lot of those things. Plus, it pauses the timer, I think, when he found that key, instead of looking at the animation as well, where he waves the axe and says you made it, it pauses the timer. So he actually gained him time to build up this and then just carry on. So if you want to find bugs and get some exposure for your game, I think hosting a speedrun competition is really good. And the way I thought about this one was actually to, when I looked at the speedrun competition, I didn't even know that existed, but when in Super Mario Brothers, you should check it out. Because, I mean, this is just a silly game that I made, and someone spent 650 attempts to beat that speed record to get that $50 voucher on Steam. But then you have people that have spent years and years playing the likes of Super Mario, for example, and they've actually learned exactly what frame they need to hit something on, and they can tell when they see a monster and they see a sprite in a certain location, they know that the hitbox on that sprite is not activated because the Nintendo hardware could not have so many activation or hitboxes at the same time. So they knew for a fact that if that happened on that frame, then I can run through that bullet because it's not active. So that wasn't designed to find glitches, because glitches are actually allowed in speedrun competitions. So that's and the way I thought of it is like, that's cool, but you can actually use it to find bugs in your game instead of having to test it everyone, because people are so much better at testing the stuff than probably you will be. All right. Woo! We've got let's I think it starts with an I and then double L. Ilya Shapanovic. I probably slaughtered that name, but thank you so much for your contribution, your super chat there. Much appreciated with that super chat. YouTube needs people like Imphenzia. Well, YouTube's got people like Imphenzia. One of them. Woohoo! Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. Let's see. Hussein, how can I show a tank get destroyed by missile? How can I show a tank get destroyed by missile? You can just watch TikTok these days, apparently. I don't know how you mean, though, exactly. Oh, like how it breaks apart, I guess. I guess usually what you do is you have the vehicle object, in my case. Usually it's in one piece to begin with. And then when it gets hit by a missile or destroyed, then you replace it with a broken, much more detailed object that you apply explosion physics to. So usually there's actually apply explosion force in Unity. There's something similar, I'm sure, in Unreal Engine as well. So you have that at that point. In my game with the cars, I actually had everything broken apart in the beginning because I really wanted you to be able to lose like part of the car. Okay. Kinetic Creative. If you had the chance, would you do Foley for a film production? I don't think so. The reason why is that I sort of like doing my own thing. And what I really like to create sound effects is that I can create sound effects for a library that I can release that's got resale value over time. I don't really like doing the freelancing where tying a certain amount of hours is paying you for that. I've still got some stuff going on in the background here. Need to switch it off. There you go. So I don't necessarily like to work by the hour because it feels like I put in the effort and then usually you lose the copyright for that particular work that you do. So I prefer to do stuff that I can sell as an asset or a library. But it would be cool to learn to work with people that are skilled at it because I'm sort of mediocre at everything. Oh yeah, so Manos, yeah, this is how everyone codes. You're probably right. Googling and trying stuff out. Yeah. Okay, so any games you're working on? Line War. If you missed that one, check that out. Look on Steam. I've spent 3 years so far with a business partner of mine, a co-developer, and we've put everything that we've got into that game so far. Am I the only 12-year-old? Nope, my son's 12 too. Ooh. Oh, I totally misread your name. Porogrammer God. That's good. I thought there was an N in there. Let's see. And we got 10 print hello again. That seems to be a thing. Good, Arvid. You know what, everyone? I'm going to end this stream now. It's been 2 hours, so I'm going to go up to my kids, make sure that they're getting ready for school. My wife is on a business trip. She's coming home tomorrow, so I've got a lot of responsibilities here. So thank you very much for joining today. It was a lot of fun. Lots of different stuff. We did some modeling, revisited some old spaceships. We did, what more? We spoke about speedrun competitions, hosting, development, all sorts of weird stuff. So everyone's welcome, and thank you so much for showing up again. It's nice to see everyone coming back on these days, and we're back on Thursdays, of course. So, and you know what? I'm not forgetting now. I'm remembering the outro, so you don't even need to remind me of that one. I'm going to remember it. I'm going to switch off my music here, and I hope you have a continued good Thursday now. Coming up to a nice weekend as well. So, that's it. That's me signing out. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye! I'm going to press it now. Outro coming right up. See ya. Oh no, either. You have to watch the replay. It's going to be on forever. Alright, bye. That's it. I'm pressing it. There you go.